Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inspiring Conversations with Kathy Ginn and Suzanne Ecker. I'm Suzanne, and I wanted to spend this time to introduce to you what New Business Dimensions is about. And our goal for you is to help you grow your business, but more importantly, it's how you grow yourself as you grow your business. And today's topic is called Cultivating Deep Roots. And Kathy is going to lead this topic. It's an expertise of hers, and she'll refer to her book that contains this content. And we are interested in helping those who find a real deep passion for this work. And how can we help you discover your best self throughout your journey? And as elders in our profession, Kathy's been in 32, almost 33 years. I'm almost 29. We've discovered a lot about ourselves. And so we want that for you, because that is really the best tool you can have to have sustainability in serving others. And not just in practice, but for yourself and those in your life. So with that, I will introduce Kathy. Kathy, we had a newsletter that went out, and you explained a little bit about what Cultivating Deep Roots is about. And one of the things you said is you refer to Deep Roots as our internal code of ethics, our internal web of virtues. You can start there, or start with your introduction, and I'm very curious as to how to expand on that. So
wonderful.
I'll let you go ahead.
Great, Suzanne, thank you so much. And you said some pretty profound things earlier. And just in review, to give people that really haven't been around us, that maybe are new to us, as partners, business partners, and our new transformational learning platform. I think that's really key for people to know. New Business Dimensions, as Suzanne shared, it's our subtitle is Grow Yourself, Grow Your Practice. And it's a beautiful dance, but it has to be a dance. It doesn't have to necessarily be beautiful, but it's got to be a dance. As we grow our practice, we grow ourselves. And so our platform, obviously, then is transformational learning, experiential learning, embodied learning, because that's the best kind of learning that inspires, creates transformation. And we have 5 dimensions, and I'll go through this real quick. The first one is business, which is Suzanne's expertise. For those of you that want to be in private practice, have a private practice, start a clinic, whatever you want to do. It's how do you do it? How do you do it? And that's Suzanne's guidance, mentoring, and her continuing education. But I've always told my students, whether you work for someone else or for yourself, you're always working for yourself. Just keep that in mind. So everybody really is an entrepreneur. It's a mindset. And that's what Susan really teaches in her business classes and her mentoring. And then the second dimension is transformational ethics. And again, for those of you that have been around with me for a while, the last 20 years or so, or last 2 years, my approach to ethics is transformational. It's a study of self and how we really show up as practitioners, as human beings. And then the third dimension is our self-leadership, leading from within, mindset, moving through our paradigms, our fears, our limitations that we think we have, because we can really have a superb website and be really great at what we do. Mindset, vision, a deep why. So self-leadership is really the study of how do we really get what we want in our professional life. And then the fourth one is our mentoring program. We do one-on-one mentoring and coaching with specifics, whether individual or group. And then we have our inspiring conversations every month with a specific topic, and our newsletter will match it. So get on our website. Suzanne will probably put it in the chat, a few things in the chat. So when you listen to this recording, I think it shows up in the chat, does it? Or not? Or does it have to be live?
No, anyone who's on with us right now can see the chat, but
Okay.
I'll just state it at the end.
Okay, great, Suzanne.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the topic of today is cultivating deep roots. And Suzanne and I were having a conversation, I don't know, about a month ago. And this came up, deep roots, right? And we both were like, wow, yeah, deep roots. And then we both said, let's make this our January inspiring conversation. And so here we are, January 17th, 2024. So deep roots, our internal frame of reference, our inner code of ethics, an internal web of virtues. I'm defining it now. Our deep roots can give us guidance and a whole lot more as practitioners. We are blessed in this profession to have an external code of ethics. It's the first thing I introduce to my students in curriculum teaching in massage schools is our code of ethics. Okay, very, very important. We're blessed to have them. It gives us a framework, right? Guidelines. I mean, our profession can be, how should I say, it's complex. What we do, client-therapist relationship, our work is very complex. And if we imagine if we wouldn't have anything to guide us in terms of right conduct, I'll let your imagination go with that, because we probably could have a really juicy discussion on that one. Mm-hmm. So we're blessed to have an external code of ethics, but it's not enough. Know that. It's not enough. And that's not a judgment. It's not a downgrade. It's just simply not enough. Because many situations that occur between client and practitioner, the code of ethics really doesn't refer to them, to that specific situation. And I'll get into a few of those a little bit later. But just know now, we have an external code of ethics. We're blessed. It's beautiful. It's a wonderful guide for all of us. Thank God we have it. But it's not enough. And so if it's not enough, what else do we need? And we need something more, a deeper rooting per se. Because the code of ethics can be kind of vague too, right? It can be kind of vague. And again, it doesn't cover every situation. We need a deeper rooting, an internal deeper rooting that's strong, that's firm, and that's really unwavering in a way. Key words, strong, firm, and unwavering. And so just pause a moment and notice what you notice about yourself now. What's beginning to land in your lap around this topic of deep roots, cultivating deep roots as a practitioner in our profession? That it has something to do with our inner code of ethics, knowing we have an external code, but we need something more. And that's our inner code of ethics. And we all have them. We all have one. Maybe we haven't thought about it in a long time, or kind of reference our beingness in the context of our deep rooting. our inner values, what guides us from the inside. When things get a little tough in that session room, and most of us can relate to something that has been a little difficult, that happens in that session room. And we've got to make decisions as practitioners. And never ever forget, our profession, what we do, is quite complex. In almost every class, I bring this up, no matter what the topic, because I really think it's important for all of us to understand it's not a rub-a-dub, I'll fix you kind of thing. It's so much more. And it's really, so much more is the relationship of client and therapist. So what makes it complex? Kathy, I don't think it's very complex, or it is complex, but I'd like to hear your point of view. What makes our relationship with our clients complex? What are you really talking about? And then how do I relate this to an external code of ethics given to us by our profession and my inner guide, that inner code, that internal frame of reference? Well, how about this? Your client loses her job. She's been a faithful client for 6 months or 6 years, it really doesn't matter. And she can no longer afford your services, but she'd love to continue with you. Our first resource is to go to the Code of Ethics. But guess what? The Code of Ethics doesn't really cover this specific situation. This is what I'm talking about. This is part of the complexity. This is part of we need more. And so what do we do? What do we do with our client that can no longer afford our services because she just lost her job and she loves your work? And I'm not going to give you the answer to any of this today. I just really want to drop some seeds for all of you. And I encourage you to sit with the inquiry yourself, because yeah. What are our choices? Well, sorry, my price is this. If you can't afford it, come back when you can. Or do you just give it to her free? Or anything in between? The point here is we have multiple choices. And the question is, how do we make them? What part of us begins to make these difficult decisions? That's what we're doing here today, is getting in touch with that. Another situation is a client is too difficult to work with. Some of us know that very well, especially if we've been around for a while. Client is too difficult to work with. Once again, the external code of ethics does not tell us what to do specifically in that. Treat each other equally? Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. Am I violating that code if I let go of my client that is too difficult for me? And I'm not talking out of the scope of practice. That's not what I'm talking about. That can be kind of clear cut. They want sports massage, you do Reiki, we're not going to work, right? And on and on. What I'm talking about more of the emotional complexity, the behavior complexity, the needy Nancy's, I call them, or the late Larry's, or whatever we all have, or we just know. And on a personal note, I'm going through this now with a client. And I'm not going to get into the details of it, but I'm having a hard time letting her go. I've cut down and my heart breaks. I'm aware of that part of me. I want to help her, but I can't. It's too much for me. And I'm letting her go. and I'm worried about her. So this is a little personal right now for me. Is that difficult client? Do we just plow through and ignore and go home exhausted every time I see this person? Can't wait till she's off my table? Is that a way we want to work? You decide. I can't tell you what to do. I can only offer you the questions. You know, what buttons of mine are being pushed? What is it about me that I cannot? I don't want to work with this client. You know, and then we have to have a conversation with this client and let them know we're letting them go. That's a tough one too. So my point is, go back to the complexity of the relationship. How do we begin to make decisions that align with our external code, but also are rooted in our inner code of service? Really, our inner code of service. Maybe I'll call it that. Another quick point is do-role relationship. The external code of ethics says nothing about do-role relationships. And do-role relationships can create deep complexity between client and therapist. If nothing else, know that. Because know that. And so my question to you, do you engage in do-role relationships? Do you not? Why? Do you engage mindfully with right intention? These are the questions. This is what this is about. Cultivating deep roots. This is the juice we all get to sit with and hang out with each other. That's why Suzanne and I do these things, because I think there's so much unspoken in our relationship. I mean, in our profession. 2-3 hours of ethics every 2 years, get it online quickly. You learn hardly anything from that. And you can tell I'm pretty, I feel strongly about that because I really do. I've been in this profession almost 33 years and I'm still learning about what we're talking about today. And some of it is still a struggle. So 3 hours or 2 hours every 2 years online really doesn't deepen, widen what we're talking about today. So just let's pause and again, notice what you notice. What's really landing with you? So do-role relationships. Are your relationships with your client too friendly? Why do you engage in do-roles? Do you? Does it feed your ego? I don't know. You got to answer these questions, but at least begin to ask them. You may not know the answer yet, but begin to ask. Begin to ask. All I can say about do-roles, enter mindfully and cautiously. I've been saying that for years to students, to myself, if I choose to. Enter mindfully, meaning knowing your why, and cautiously, understanding the complexity of do-role relationships, how it can impact your professional role and your professional relationship. So do-role. Another one I could talk about this for hours, is therapist self-disclosure. What's your code on that? Our external code says nothing about therapist self-disclosure. What's your inner code on that? What's your frame of reference? This is huge. I think it's probably one of the most unspoken, denied ways of being in the professional relationship, is really understanding therapist self-disclosure. And I'll say one thing, If I had, well, I'll say one thing. I really invite you into this inquiry and sit quietly with yourself and reflect on this topic itself. Are you a chatty Cathy therapist? What do you know about your presence? What do you know about your listening skills? Only you can answer that. So these are just some, very few dynamics of the therapeutic relationship that I believe it's important that we have something deep within ourselves that we can refer to that helps guide us into making good decisions. What is a good decision? That's a conversation. Good decision for me, maybe not for you. I don't know. What kind of therapist do you want to be? Not do, but be. It's a great inquiry. What kind of therapist do you really want to be? How do you want your clients to receive you? These are the juicy questions that will lead you to your deep roots of your own inner code of conduct, of right action. How do you wish to serve? It's another great question. And for those that haven't been around me in class, this is my style. You know, I tell my students, I'm not up here going to tell you what to do. But I'll certainly ask you a whole lot of questions because you know what to do. And if you don't, bring it up. And as a class, we can offer some guidance. Now, massage school teaching is a little different. They need to be told what to do in the beginning, right? The details of our work. We have a fiduciary responsibility, I believe, to this profession, to our clients, to ourselves, of providing safety and trust. In that session, though, the question is, how do you do that? How do you do that? How do you provide safety and trust from the moment you shake a client's hand and welcome them to your office to saying goodbye, I'll see you next month? It's a business thing, right? They're already scheduled for the next month. Safety and trust. And we know that as body workers. If our clients don't feel safe and they don't trust us, boy, that makes our work harder. Because their body will reflect that feeling, whether it's conscious or not. I hope I'm making sense to you today. And Suzanne, if you have any thoughts, you can always jump in. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going.
I do have some thoughts.
Yeah.
Excuse me. It's interesting because the more I learn from you, Cathy, the more I understand how we intertwine so well in our education, because these are things that I talk about in my business training. The self-disclosure piece, I do leave it to each person who takes that course to understand what that is for them. But it's also from my own experience that I can talk from that, because the dual relationship has come up many times in my profession, in my professional life. And, having these foundational deep roots that Kathy's talking about is so important, because looking at yourself as a practitioner, we sometimes make mistakes in what we say. And so we learn from that in ourselves, but I feel that what Kathy's talking about is a guide, is a true guide to ask yourself those questions. And how do you want to be the practitioner that you want to be? And so it's, when we talk about business and ethics, we're talking about discovery of self, as we mentioned earlier, but also that it goes much deeper than learning in the classroom. Even in your practitionership, it's about your self-reflection. And so I love that we cross over in our trainings about these topics. The next one I wanted to mention is the safety and trust that first day. And that's in my training coming up in February. I go deeper into that in a mechanical sense and give you tips in how to take the steps to get that trust with the client. And now Kathy's course on this topic is a good foundational piece of that. And so I hope that you'll consider looking at the content of these topics, and it can really solidify your confidence in how you greet people and take them through the journey that they're looking for. So with that, I'll return it to you, Kathy.
Thank you, Suzanne. Many words, I stuck with me while I was listening to you, but one in particular was the crossover of our work, and Suzanne and I didn't know each other. I mean, up until a year and a half ago, really, we were introduced to each other. You're in Colorado, I'm in Wisconsin. And here we are, have this new business dimensions, teaching people, what we have come to learn. And that all of our dimensions, whether it's business, ethics, self-leadership, right? How to make money, how to serve others. I mean, so much. It's a crossover, because bottom line, it's who you're being as a private practitioner, right? When you go to that network meeting and you meet people, right? It's not so much what you're wearing, it's how you're being. And through your business courses, even, Suzanne, you bring out this, right? You teach the tools, and yet some who is practicing the tools of business, of entrepreneurship, of private practice success. It's all, as you said, a crossover, because who's doing everything? You are, I am, all of you that are listening, all of our colleagues. Yeah, so thank you for that. Yeah, the crossover and the crossover. And whether it's business, ethics, self-leadership, we do rely on our deep rooting. And we do rely on an external code of conduct. And that leads us into being an entrepreneur, private practice, or really superb employee. Right? Yeah. One that stands out, one that clients love, one that builds a successful practice working for someone else. That's mindset. That's business. That's ethics. It's all new business dimensions. It's not just one thing. So, crossover. So what do we do with all of this? When we talk about deep roots and cultivating deep roots and an internal frame of reference and the complexity and the many decisions we make and all the inquiry that I have offered you today, it's like, okay, so now what? How do I do this? And I'm certain many of you, if not most of you, are already connected to your deeper roots. You may not have called them that, but you are, because something guides you. Because I have never met anyone in 33 years that knows the external code of ethics by heart, even if they're up on our wall. Right? And in those instant decisions, we have to come up with a decision to make. Or in those other decisions, some of them I talked about already. So how do we do this? And I'm just going to name it off real simple. Everyone is really it's a lifetime journey. This is what we're talking about. Building a private practice isn't the easiest thing to do in life. Developing deep roots isn't the easiest thing to do in life. Having a positive mindset and knowing your why, not everybody does that work. How bad do you want it? I love that question. So the first one is observe yourself. Begin to observe yourself. Right? Cultivate self-awareness instead of just being, excuse my term, a machine. First client, second client, third client, fourth client, kind of thing. Or Betty, she's been seeing me for 10 years. We just chat through the whole session. Oh, yeah. Or whatever it is. Begin to honestly observe yourself. And this is what Suzanne and I teach, especially in our mentoring programs. Developing that gift of self-awareness, observing ourselves, knowing what we're beginning to observe, inner self-care, that inner work, which is crucial. That's why ethics or self-care is an ethical issue. Self-care is an ethical issue. Inner self-care. What does that look like, Kat? Our own inner work, right? Reading good books of growth, prayer, meditation, breath work, mindful self-inquiry. Keep asking. The answer is always there. Always. We just have to be still and listen. So a practice of inner self-care. Know thyself. That's truth. That's universal truth. It's in the Bible. It's, many spiritual teachings. Know thyself. Wow. That's quite a journey. Willingness to change. We have to have a willingness to change and be honest with ourselves and let our ego step aside. So it's lifetime. It's lifetime. This is a good start. This is a good start. So I'm just going to throw a couple things at you, the audience, our fellow colleagues. This is in my book. We'll talk about this later. Suzanne and I are both authors. But one of my chapters is called The Soul of Deep Roots. So I'm giving you a little hint here, what's in the chapter. But I asked the audience of readers, and I ask you now, what are your attitudes and beliefs around the following words? I'm not going to list all of them. I have quite a few, but I'm going to throw a few at you slowly. And just notice what you notice. That's that self-awareness we're talking about. Healing. What's your beliefs, your attitudes around healing? Your own, your clients, the body? Physical pain. Do we deal with physical pain as massage therapists? Kind of, huh? Once in a while, right? Yeah. What's your relationship to that? Your own and your clients. Two-sided coin. My own healing, my client's healing. Neediness. What's your relationship to neediness? Your own and your clients. This is a tough one for me. Has been. Thank God I woke up to this part of me. Because way in the beginning, I didn't even really know I had needs. This is a long time ago when I was in my 20s, started my inner work. I didn't think I should have needs. And if I had a needy client, what I define as needy, whoo, that was a tough one. One that didn't want to do their work. So I think you get the gist. Some of you probably can relate. And this has been part of my journey around neediness, independence, helping. What's your relationship to helping? Do you help too much? Does helping feed our ego? Do I feel really good about myself when I help others? And when I can't, I feel lost, naked, not enough. This is how we begin to develop our deep roots and take them deeper and deeper by this kind of self-inquiry that we're going through real quickly right now. Power. What do you know about your power? What's your relationship to power? Do you get big or do you diminish yourself? I teach a whole class on ethics as right use of power. The power differential. We live in that as practitioners, right? Here we are, here's our client, right? How do we dance with this power that we've been given simply because of our role? That's it. Power. Intimacy. That's a great one to hang out with. Physical intimacy, emotional intimacy. Is our profession physically intimate? Probably one of the most intimate professions you can have, I think. Our clients are pretty much naked. Yes, they're draped. They give us a lot of access to their naked body, and we get to touch them, not poke them, not prod them, not stick something in their ear. We get to touch them. How intimate is that? What is our relationship to intimacy, to tears, to suffering? And we could go on and on and on. What guides your way? How do you make your decisions? This is the soul of deep roots. This is the soul of deep roots. What do you know about your presence? I love that question. What do you know about your presence? The other day I was exhausted. I've been working a lot lately with clients because I'm going away for a while, and I'm kind of, like many of us have done or do, cram clients in. If that's possible. So maybe work a day I'm usually off, and I know how I can get when I'm exhausted. But my point of sharing this with you is I knew in my heart and soul I wasn't serving from my best self. One day at the end, I was so tired And I'm an introvert, so when I get that way, I really don't need to see anybody with two legs anymore. Certainly one that talks, if you know what I mean. And yet that's what I was there to do. So I went home and told my husband, I said, yeah, I just, feel really bad. And he goes to me, he says, Kath, maybe they didn't even notice. And he didn't say that to brush it off or to make me feel better. He just knows me. And that wasn't good enough for me because I know me and I noticed. If you hear what I'm saying. Did I beat myself up for a little while, but not all night? What guides you from the inside? When you look at yourself in the mirror, who do you see? These are the juicy questions, I think, of our work and the study of self. So in closing, and then I'll hand it over to Suzanne, the practice of deep rooting bears fruit. What kind of fruit does your tree have? The practice of deep rooting bears fruit. We just had, it's winter here up north, right, in Wisconsin. So snow, and the other day we had lots of them, probably, I don't know how many feet in 24 hours. And I love winter. And I'm, the morning after, I'm looking out and the branches, the snow is just filling the trees, right? And some of the branches, they're just holding the snow, right? And I'm like, wow, they're strong. Some break, but that's a whole nother class, right? Huh. But it takes me to the deep rooting of the tree. It starts there. It starts there. Nature is, well, nature, nothing is perfect and everything is perfect. It's one big classroom for us all. And it can teach us about our deep roots if we pay attention. So what are you planting? What are you planting? The seeds. What seeds are you planting? What kind of fruit are you receiving? How are you developing your moral compass? And I love this quote. Look around you and see. Look within you and know. Pay attention to yourself for one full day. Notice what you notice. And then go within, and you'll begin to know. Continue to know. Deepen your knowing, wherever you are in your journey of life. But one thing as practitioners and as human beings, and Suzanne, you really touched on this, not in these exact words. Wherever you go, there you are. Wherever I go, there I am. Whether it's a session room, the grocery store, right? Planting deep roots, cultivating deep roots. Doesn't happen in 3 hours every 2 years. So I think I'll stop here, Suzanne. I think I'll stop here. And well, I'll say something about my book. Can I? If I, yeah. And it's on our website. Suzanne is an author. and her focus again is on around business. And my book is also on our website. It's titled The Soul of Ethical Service. And it just takes you on a journey, an inner journey, the book, planting deep roots, really. That's what it's about, I guess. And Suzanne, you'll cover the website, and my book is on Amazon and Book Baby, but you can order it directly from our website, right? Your book and my book, I believe. So maybe you want to share with the audience that and where we go from here, what they can expect, and getting on our newsletter list and what we're doing for the month of February, March, this spring.
Well, Kathy, you have a class coming up that surrounds this entire topic, the soul of ethical service.
Yes.
And that's in February.
That's in February.
And then the other class following is my class on mastering your client intake.
Yeah.
And it crosses over a whole lot of what we talked about today, but gives you a little bit more hands-on tools to guide you. And it's all your decision. I'm not going to tell you, use this form, talk to the client this way, do this in the session room. I'm not going to tell you that. You already need to look at your inner knowing of what that is. And part of the beauty of these classes being in the same month, I think, is that you will feel more confidence from what you learn. And it's really learning from yourself, but also the more you get different information than what's out there in the ethics courses, in the business courses, it's not really a how-to, it's like, how do I? And it's more your own questions. So that's coming up in February. So I highly recommend.
They're both online. Excuse me for interrupting, but interactive online, right? Oh, that's what, interactive online.
Interactive online. And the reason we like the interactive online is because we like to be able to answer your questions. And what better way to practice your presence than being on a live online course or in person? So taking the time is really important for that growth. And that's our firm belief, I believe. And so refer to our website, which is newbusinessdimensions.org. We are going through a transition. So some things are getting updated daily, and we have a YouTube channel, and we're developing that. We are also looking at transferring these conversations into a podcast. And so as older people in the profession, not so tech savvy, I think we have our challenges ahead of us, but that's why we ask for help. So we are transitioning into a podcast. And but if you're listening, you know that a Zoom meeting or a recording, a video recording can also be an audio recording. So you can start it on your phone, get in your car, listen as you go, listen on your lunch break, whatever it is. That's still available to you. We also have listed our courses for the next few months through April. And be sure to check those out. They're all listed on the course offerings. So you can see us there. And we're available to you anytime. Our contact information is there. We'd love to talk to you one-on-one. Part of our mentoring is really done through our courses. And that's what makes us different. Some people need CEs, some people don't, but regardless, you're learning. So we'd like to mentor through our courses, because the reason the courses are there is to help you grow. And when you get mentoring, you grow. And that's, we love to help you with whatever aspect of your practice you need. So, all right. Anything else? Did I forget anything?
No, I think you really explained it well. And just get on our website. And as Suzanne said, feel free to contact us if you have any questions about our mentoring, our courses, our books, our mission, you know, and what we're doing. And I do have an ask. I think Suzanne, you do too. You just haven't voiced it, but is to really let people, other practitioners, know what Suzanne and I are doing. That we have this transformational learning platform. Some of our classes are live in the classroom, others are live virtual. We don't have any on demand yet. Don't know if we're going to. We're throwing that around. We love the interaction with you. And when we go on, online, or what's it called, on demand, we lose that aspect. And that's part of who we are. That's part of who we are. We're elders in this profession. I'm proud of that. And I humbly say that. Suzanne, I know you are too. And I always say you entered massage school for a reason. And that reason may change. And that's okay. But don't ever forget why you chose this profession. Because it can be tough. We want to quit. Suzanne, you wanting to quit. I've thought about quitting way back when, and now I can't even think about retiring. Right. So anyway, in a nutshell, we thank you for journeying with us. And we look forward to, the next couple of years journeying with you, but maybe we'll start with the next 4 months. And we do this every month, right? This inspiring conversation. You already explained that with YouTube and all of that. That's your territory. And we're here. And let's do this thing together, right? Let's do this path together. We're in a very beautiful, unique profession, and the world needs us. And I say that humbly too. The world needs what we have to offer, especially now, I believe. So don't quit, and don't quit on yourself. So thank you.
Well said, Kathy, and great closing. So for now, we say goodbye, but we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today.